Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, Steve and Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Mate, today we're going to be talking about tips and tricks and hacks to stay on track with your fat loss goals.
Exactly. I mean, getting the diet right is one thing, getting exercise right and the other, but how do you put it into practical terms?
Can I tell you the biggest thing that you have to get right before you do any of that, Steve?
Well, tell me now.
The brain.
Yes.
The brain. And we got a little thing, the number one thing that you must do, which we're going to mention right at the end of the podcast. Yeah. So there's going to be a little bit of how, there's going to be a little bit of why, a little bit of what, but we're going to try and help to break down your breakdown. Where people are falling off the wagon, where people have got the best intentions, they've got the knowledge, but for some reason it's not coming together. And it's a multifaceted approach that we're going to be talking about. If you're interested in, obviously, fat loss, practicality, exercises, nutrition, supplementation, jump into our library of podcasts because we've got a whole heap of stuff in there to talk about the best exercises and the best herbs and different types of diets that you may want to consider. But this is a little bit different. This is about trying to break down and understand why, even if you've got all the knowledge, you're still not getting the results that you want. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Today we are talking about, I reckon, probably one of the biggest bugbears that most people face when they're trying to lose weight. It could also apply if you're trying to get fit or if you're trying to build muscle tissue. But let's face it, the majority of people who we're about to talk about are people who just get frustrated and they can't lose the body fat that they're trying to lose.
Yeah.
And there is one overarching main reason why, Steve.
This is one main one.
Well, and the funny thing is this leads to a cascading event.
Yes.
So the number one reason why most people don't lose the weight is because they create a plan and then they can't stick to it.
They can't stick to
it. They don't stick to the training. They don't stick to the food. They don't stick to their supplementation regime. And look, I'm not saying that supplementation is fantastic and there's a great benefit, but let's face it, if your diet's not right and your exercise is not right, I mean, supplementation might be of a minor benefit, but then if you combine all these things together, the synergistic effect is absolutely phenomenal.
Terrific, yeah.
So, Steve-O, tell me, mate, what's going on with people? Well, I mean, obviously this is a lot of psychology. The old saying was with personal trainers, 100% correct. Trust the process and follow the plan. Just stick to it.
All right.
Don't break it. And what happens, Steve?
Well, it's easier said than done. I mean, let's say I'm a naturopath, which I am, and I'm talking to people about their diet. They want to lose weight. I give them a kick-ass diet, whatever that diet is.
Yep.
Say ketogenic diet. Yep. Kick-ass exercise program. They're going to be going to the gym in the morning and they'll walk after work every day.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they will lose weight. And I'd guarantee that. But guess what happens?
They don't do it.
They don't do it.
Do you know why?
Don't know.
Well, the funny thing is, obviously, human psychology is that it takes around about 21 days to set neural pathways in the brain. And this came from, I forget the gentleman's name, very, very experienced guy from South Australia who, I think it was, he owns Sealy Posturepedic Masters. And a really, really good businessman. I remember listening to him one time, and he said he had set a new, and I think I might have told this story before, but just very briefly so that we can sort of get into the minutiae of what we're trying to say here, is he said, make no exceptions for the first 21 days. None. Zero. Zip. He goes, if you can do that, you start creating new pathways in the brain and it becomes easier to stay on track. Whenever you're trying to do something new for the first time, it is willpower. Getting over that first 3 weeks, and this has been proven, 3 weeks helps, it becomes easier, so therefore you can start making exceptions. So his rule was that he wanted to look after, his wife was getting upset with him because he left his pajamas on the bathroom floor. I know that sounds pedantic, but whatever reason, she'd had enough of it. So he used to live right out in the hills of Adelaide, and he had a meeting, and then his business was in the city, and it would take him, I think it was a good hour trip to get in. Anyway, so he's doing it, he's picking up his clothes. He had a very important meeting. He was driving into his business to get into the boardroom, and he remembered that he had left his pajamas on the floor, and it was inside the 3 weeks. So he jumped back in his car, and he went back and did it. Now, that you go, well, why not just apologise and all the rest of it? But he had made a commitment to himself that was unbreakable, meaning that it was a bond he had made with himself. The funny thing was that by doing that, it showed, one, his mindset, but it said, two, that he was not prepared to compromise for anything. Now, he said after that 3 weeks, so long as it's an exception to the rule, it's okay to, forget or to change or what have you. So, So the number one thing I think people need to do is, number one, and there's lots of things going on here, and I think we'll get to it, and it'll be really interesting to hear what you have to say, Steve. Because obviously we understand firmicutes, and you've got your gut bugs craving things, but we know that they die off.
We do.
We know that there's obviously psychological crutches. There's that feeling of endorphins that you get from certain foods, which is, effectively you're rewarding yourself with food as a treat, which makes you feel better, which is where you get, sympathy eating and all this sort of stuff as well too. But I think the number one thing, more than anything else, is that 3 week period. For me, and again, Steve, you might have some other things there, and we're going to unpack a few things there.
It's a lot.
That 3 week period, pay the price, understand what you want to do, and there are all sorts of other things that you can do to support you, like putting up a vision board. Now, I know a lot of people do that, a lot of people don't. Put up a picture of what you want to look like or what you used to look like that you want to get back to.
That's a good
Having that constant reminder in your face as well too. Putting up little comments around the house like, who's that supermodel? Kate Moss.
Oh, yeah?
Do you know what her famous quote was?
What was it?
Her famous quote was, looking good feels better than eating.
That's right.
Can you look that up so I get it absolutely right?
Yeah.
But she said,
it tastes better than eating or something. Something like that.
It's more satisfying than eating, and it's true. So these sorts of things as well too. If you can put up motivational quotes, have you got it there, Matt?
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yes.
Now, again, it just comes down to the fact that she was motivated. Well, you've got to set your priorities. So, anyway, Steve, what do you think?
Well, it's fascinating because the amount of, and I'm going to call them excuses at the moment. All right, so I'm going to sound a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, people have excuses or they've got results.
Well, so
they could have good excuses.
Everyone's got 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah. All we want is 5% of that. And if you do 5% of your day to exercise, it's about an hour. So even if you do 2.5, it's half an hour.
Well, the funny thing is, let me start even further back than that. Let's say that somebody who's got a training history, maybe played sport or they were very active going to gym. For those people, that mental hurdle is probably not so bad. Let's take an executive or male, female, doesn't matter, who's never trained a day in their life. As their hormones are disintegrating, your growth hormones halving every 10 years, your testosterone levels are dropping, your estrogen levels are going through the roof. All these things are happening, right? Which is why it does become harder as you get older. There is absolutely no doubt.
Yes.
So you can arrest these things. And again, we're going to talk about crutches and support and aids and all the rest of it. But regardless of that, if you don't start with the single most important philosophy, and Steve, I'd like to get maybe the top 5 things that you must do in order to stay on track. And some of them are going to be self-evident. Some of them are going to be little hints and tips and tricks and things that you can do that actually enable you to stay on track. And this is gold. Look, I've been in this industry for 20 years. I was writing nutrition plans for people, 20 odd years ago to help people lose weight. And there are certain things that they used to come back to me and say, I can't do this or I can't do that. That's fine. We'll work out. You don't have to run marathons. You don't have to be a Steve and run. How many Ks did you run this morning,
Steve?
12
this morning, actually.
Oh, you lazy bastard.
No, I know.
So, 12K run. You don't need to. If you're time poor, there's things that we can do. If you don't like high intensity, there's things that we can do.
There's plenty of things you can do. So exercise is one part of it. And then we've got diet is the other major part. And they do interlink a bit.
Sure.
Because a lot of people, we'll start with exercise because we've talked about that.
Okay.
And this is why I'm always a fan of doing it first thing in the morning because there's less excuses. Because excuses are results. If you wake up in the morning, let's say you say, all right, let's say you say this afternoon I'm going to go to the gym for just half an hour.
It's crowded, Steve. It's crowded in the afternoon.
It's crowded. Tony calls you, you got to pick up Corbin. Gone. It's gone.
Well, this afternoon I'm going straight from here at 2:30, taking Corbin straight to Academy. On Tuesday night, I went straight from here, took him to Academy football. Then I left there ran back, got my son, then drove to the next suburb, picked up another guy, and drove them 45 minutes out to basketball training for an hour and a half. I didn't get home until 9:30. So, like, you know what I mean? It's like, nah.
So, but what were you doing at 5 a.m.?
Sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the kids. I mean, you know, I know. And people go, 5 a.m. Oh, gee. Well, you know, I mean, well.
Can I give you an excuse?
Yeah, sure. This is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, but I'm a night owl.
You're a night owl.
Yep.
That's right.
And I want to do a podcast on this. I want to do podcast on night owl versus larks. Who's better? Who's more awesome? No, but what the funny thing is that I have to say for exercise, I think larks have got a bit of a. I think they've got a bit of an advantage. I have to say it.
We have.
Especially if you don't have snotty-nosed little snot jockeys.
I don't. I've got a flat-faced cat. That's it.
You bastard. But no, that's exactly right. I mean, and again, excuses are what excuses are. And look, you know, we say that, well, everyone's got 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
However, could I say that a 21-year-old single person with no dependents and a really, you know, cruisy job probably has more disposable time.
Absolutely.
Than somebody with maybe running a business, maybe dependents, whether that be elderly or younger.
Yeah.
So enough about excuses though, Steve.
Yeah.
Everybody, if something's important to you, you'll find the time.
You will find the time. And it's all, everyone's got a phone, right? I was going to show you mine, but it's downstairs. So the phone can also help you. So let's say you also love listening to podcasts like this one. Let's assume that
there are people probably sweating it out on the treadmill right now as they listen to our dulcet tones, Steve.
And in fact, they're multitasking right now.
Yep.
They're doing what they love and doing what their body loves.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're exercising. So if you like listening to podcasts, maybe you could get some alone time in the morning. And I'm going to say the morning now.
And listen to Steve and Jeff.
Yeah, of course.
You might need to tell your significant other.
Yeah, exactly. now the interesting about that is, and it is, I'm not giving you the, what do they say? There's a saying. It's not the easiest reason to do this. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do. Now, why? It's because the afternoons are terrible. And in my clinical practice is you'd say, all right, you don't want to exercise in the morning. After work, they do it. You know, 2 weeks you come and see them again and they go, how did you go? No. Oh, I couldn't. And then they blame
derailed.
They blame their kids. They blame their family. They blame their mum. They blame somebody else for them not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are adults. And I just think they should take a little bit of self-responsibility and work it out. Now, they may be fine to do it after work. They may finish at 3. My brother-in-law finishes work at 3:30. He's got no reason not to exercise, and he still doesn't. But he's got no reason. You know, it's the earlier time.
Well, it comes down, I guess, to cost. You count the cost. Sure. Now, the most motivated people on the planet, Steve, do you know, we've spoken about this, I don't know if you remember, but do you know who the most motivated people are to stick to a regime?
Well, usually I wrote a paper on it from my university, but
well, okay,
but it could be different to you. It said how hard. Well, I wrote a paper saying how heart attacks save people's lives.
That's exactly right. It's people who have got literally of staring, death in the face.
Correct.
Now, there is no bigger motivator than fear.
Yep.
We are inbuilt to freak out.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you've had a heart attack, I tell you what, and I've spoken to people that have had it, they say it is one of not only extremely painful, but it is one of the scariest, the most terrifying horror movie you could possibly have.
Yeah.
Something is happening that you have no control over.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can do about it. You're going to go through it.
Yeah.
And potentially you could be dead in seconds.
Literally seconds.
So when that happens and people come out and the doctor goes, okay, Porky, you need to lose some weight. And this gives me fit, healthy at any size, bullshizing to my German
not
friends.
Not a fan of that one.
Rubbish. It's not true.
Not true at all.
So when you see this, that is the most motivated people.
Oh, they are.
Now,
have you seen anyone go to a hospital faster than somebody who's having a heart attack?
Yeah.
It's all, but here's the funny thing. This is what I don't quite understand.
Sure.
There are people for years who, and I'll pick worst case scenario, smoke, drink, don't exercise, are overweight, and do nothing about that for decades. But as soon as they have the heart attack, oh my goodness, everything, drop everything, call the ambulance, surgery, cut open, stents, everything, blah, blah, blah. That's when they want the intervention. What I'd like to see people do is intervene before they end up in the hospital. Remember, it's a big killer, heart attacks.
Well, and I think everybody accepts that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the average person out there is going, well, I'm just a little bit overweight. I'm not going to die of a heart attack, and I'm not really doing it. I want to fit into my size 8 dress.
Sure.
For Americans, our size 0. I think, I don't know. You know more about that, Steve.
Yeah, I've got a size 8 dress.
And then, or I just want to, I'm going to a school reunion. Okay. So motivation's a big one. School reunions, breakups, divorces.
Yeah.
You want motivation.
Yeah.
You go and have a look at those people. And what is it with females whenever they break up? And this is stereotype. They change their hair colour. It's like, okay, I've got rid of that person, and it's like snip and colour.
If I break up with Beck, I'll just go a little bit grayer. That's all. My hair will change, but not in the way you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's all about motivation.
It is.
Now, also, there's those sort of handbrakes that people have that whether they time, family, whatever. So you've got to get them on side too. You've got to make a commitment.
Well, when I first wrote a book which was called Know Your Why, and that's what I actually wrote. Your why is really, 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 really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you've got that why, it'll determine, that is your litmus test. That is your North Pole. That is your center as far as being able to achieve something. If you're not really motivated and you're not really into it, as soon as things get a little uncomfortable or it becomes inconvenient, guess what's going to the wayside?
Yeah.
The diet and the exercise.
Absolutely, it does.
So it really does come down to that counting the cost. The second thing is then, if once you've sat down, and I want to go through this process at the end, Steve, and map it from beginning through to end, enrolling people who care about you into that is really, really important.
Very important.
Significant other, kids, who else can support you and even give you a kick up the arse if you don't do it. Now, this is where, for me personally, an investment, emotional investment, and also a money investment. And the best money investment you can possibly make to help you to stay on track, to make sure that you do the exercise and potentially be accountable for your food, is a personal trainer.
PT, absolutely.
One, if you're listening to this and you're considering doing something, you need some form of community. Now, the other thing that's excellent as well too is something like CrossFit. Because you've actually got a community where you build a relationship. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. You get to meet people. You get to hang out. You get to work. And the other thing is goal setting, which is why I love CrossFit and working with the PT, because you're measuring everything and you can manage what you measure. Correct. And so your brain effectively then goes, right, I'm going to try and beat this. If you're just hitting the pavement and you're listening to a podcast and you're going to go for half an hour, great, because you're kind of engaged and you're enjoying it. But if you really hate what you're doing, and unless there's something for you to aim towards, the chances of success start to diminish.
They diminish dramatically. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You've got to have some sort of purpose. Now, let's just talk about the significant other. If you say to your wife/husband or partner, whatever it is, you say, listen, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, I'm going to go for a walk at 5, okay?
Yep.
And it comes around at 5 o'clock and you're lying there and you're going, oh, the phone's gone off. And then you get that nudge in the ribs. Hey, come on, you got to go for your walk now. Oh, okay. And that may be enough just to get you going, maybe just enough.
Yeah.
Because then if they say, he or she is going to say to you, oh, no, you're going to exercise, and you've got to actually come up with a reason not to. And there usually isn't one at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. the alarm goes off in our household.
Yeah.
I roll over and I kissed Tony and I said, get your No, I don't. Are you cutting that? Holy cow. You can just beep it. Just beep it. Yeah. No, she would laugh. And I roll over and I prod her and I said, get out of bed and get into the gym. And then I roll back to sleep again.
Yeah, that's right.
But
that's how it works.
And that's what I'm here for. You know what I mean? I'm just here for that support. Call me a crutch.
Yeah. Well, Beck's more motivated than I am. She can start work at 6:30 in the morning at the hospital.
Is she a lark as well?
She's a big lark. She's larkier than me.
Man, my youngest is a lark. My oldest is a night owl. Seriously, on the weekends, we just let him sleep because I swear I can watch him growing.
Yeah.
Clayton, and like
Clayton.
I come through and it's like 8:30 in the morning. Young fella's downstairs.
Yeah.
He's watching this stupid stuff on YouTube about video games. I'm like, why don't you just go play the video games? I want to watch other people play video games on. Like what is that? Anyway, and look, he's a pretty good kid too because he gets out there and he's got a net in the back garden, so he might be kicking the soccer ball if it's not too early. If I don't yell at him now, put that bloody soccer ball away. But he's up. Yeah. Like even on the weekends, even unless we've stayed out late, but normally he's in bed by 7:30. He's up around 6:30 in the morning, most mornings, right? Even on a sleep in, even if it's cold.
That's Corbin.
Whereas Clayton, on the other hand, now this is what I'm talking about. It being difficult for a lark. I reckon you've got a massive leg up because the best time, especially if you're focusing on fat loss as well too. And we're talking about, and forget the means and the why, how, guys, because we've done a lot of podcast on, hey, is it keto, is it fasted cardio, is it high intensity, is it this, is it? But if you are looking for weight loss, the best time to exercise is fasted in the morning, right?
Yeah, we've done.
But the time benefit, if you feel like, as you say, in the afternoon, you're busy, there's all these people at the gym wearing leotards and you feel embarrassed and you're wearing a baggy shirt that says bum sport. That's another story.
I'm wearing a G-string at the gym every time, mate. Yeah,
no, cut that out. That's disgusting. Nobody wants to think about that, Steve. But leopard leotard. Leopard leotard. You know what? That would be awesome. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a bit of a. But what happens if you're like me and you're a night owl?
Well, you can still do it. You can still do it as long as you're organised. And the problem with organisation is that there are other people involved in the afternoon because everybody's awake in the afternoon. That's it. When I get up at 4:30, there's no one awake. Really.
There's a 4:30 in the morning now.
There is. I've got every morning. But here's the tricky thing that I do that a lot of people don't. Is that I get up at 4:30 Saturday and Sunday mornings.
No, that is brilliant. And again, we understand that the sleeping patterns, not only is it easier to get up, but it's actually better for your hormones.
Absolutely it is.
So that's a suck for me because, man, I love the sleeping. I'm like, Sunday morning, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm like, and what happened the other morning? I was like, because I like being up at night. I just love it. I love being alone. The house is quiet. I can, do whatever I'm going to do on it, and I sort of get to bed at maybe, 11:30. Sometimes I even stay up till 12 o'clock at night. Yeah. And then I think, I'm going to sleep until like 7:30, 8 o'clock if I possibly can. Tony's sick. Let's go out for breakfast this morning, 6 o'clock. Let's go. Damn it.
Damn lark.
Yeah, damn lark.
She's lucky, isn't she?
She's very lucky.
Right.
Lucky she's got me. Oh, sorry. Oh. That even hurt saying that. Sorry, people, for that one. But yes, I think,
That's awesome. But yeah, so if you are, more of a morning person, it is an advantage. But let's say you're not. We'll try and worst case scenario. There's another option for you. Lunchtime. Lunchtime could be an option for people. I know.
No.
Not the best.
No. Yes, you're right. You're right, Steve-O, because a few of my friends have been disciplined enough to do that. Some of my friends that were working in government took a little bit of extra flexi time. So I think they finished in an extra 15 minutes or half an hour later. And if you've got that level of flexibility, great. Especially if you work in the city and you're near a gym. And what they'd do is they'd go first, they would train, they'd set their watch, they had a very rigorous plan. Then they'd come back, they'd have a shower, or they'd have a shower there, and then they'd have their lunch for 15 minutes at their desk, and then they were back to normal. If you can get it done less now. I knew some guys that were in the city that were running around the botanical gardens. This is when I used to work in the city, years and years ago. And that's great. If that works for you, if you can make that work, that's great. Especially if you're busy, especially if you've got a family, especially if, like you're more of an owl and you find it really hard to get up in the morning, or you just don't want to, but you can find the time.
The third best option, I think, is don't go to the gym after work, go on the way home from work.
That's really smart.
Because
if you can.
Because if you get home, it's like, I've got to do, and Johnny wants me to, and wife wants me to. And
sit down, the kids have got homework to do, and then you're making dinner, and then it's like, okay, bath time. I call it witching hour at our place. It's like flipping, kids manifesting all over the place. And then it's like, right, dinner, and then, you get, okay, Dad, I want a story, and you get them into bed, and it's like, 7:30, and I'm like, I'm just
but
like couch potato. I
take
want
your
to watch
workout
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I want to watch. What else do I watch? I love Walking Dead, actually.
It's great, isn't it?
Do you watch it?
Yeah, I've watched it a few times.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm right up with that. And then, or House of the Dragon, that was very good. Lord of the Rings, was not really great. But anyway, and then I'm just, you know what? It's a stressful day. I don't want to have to then reinvigorate myself to get motivated. I just want to literally chill out for a few minutes and then I'm in bed.
Exactly, and that's the way. And
it's funny. I'm a night owl now. I'm in bed by at the absolute latest 10 o'clock now.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were on 11, 12.
I'm old now, Steve. I'm old now. I used to, but not anymore.
Yeah, I know. I used to work till. I used to work till dawn when I was busking.
Yep.
As soon as it started getting light, time to go home.
Yep.
Terrible.
Yep.
How I did that. So there's those tricks for exercising and all those sort of things to get rid of your sort of handbrakes. But the other angle of this is the food thing.
Well, okay. So we're going to put this all together at the end as well too, and go right. Here are the things that you need to do depending on whether you're what have you. Okay, so food's a big one.
It is massive,
and this is the thing I love: the Bill Phillips Body for Life program that came out a long time ago. One of the things one of the worst things that you can possibly do, unless you're a competitor, and look, if you're getting up onto stage and you're going to compete, you are my total respect. You are a rare breed. You've 100%, unless you're a kind of a freak, you've got a coach.
Yeah.
Roger Federer, best tennis player in the world, has a coach. If you're at that level, you have a coach, someone to be accountable, someone to see things that you can't, someone to make sure that you're on track and measuring and making tweaks and all the rest of it, right? I mean, that's a very, very, very rare breed. But if you're one of those and you're listening to this, God bless you. If you're one of the average, everyday athletes who just want to lose a little bit more weight, and this is the thing as well too. By inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. I love that saying.
That's a great saying.
And small changes can make huge differences over time.
Absolutely.
And that's what you've got on you do not need to do this in 12 weeks. I mean, unless you've got a reunion or something like that, which is actually not bad, because then I've got a deadline, I've got to do this and such. And this is the difference between a sprint and a marathon. And the idea of a marathon, to me, it sounds horrible just even saying that word, a marathon, right? But in terms of, it doesn't need to be arduous. What it means you can do is you can make small changes consistently that make big results over time. And this is part of the mindset. We're very much a microwave society. We want to start today, and by the weekend, I want to be ripped with abs. Right? And that's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but you can start the process by the weekend.
So the thing I loved about Body for Life is it gave people the mental release. So what ended up, and for people that don't know, for the Body for Life Challenge, and Bill Phillips is a genius. And I think I mentioned before, I met the editor and the guy that actually helped him. He's the guy that put the before and after photos, which are hugely motivating, by the way. And we'll get into motivation a bit later on. He said, okay, 6 out of 7 days you're eating on point. And look, the nice thing is it doesn't have to be horrible. You're having some protein shakes, some chocolate protein shakes. You might have a protein bar, but you're eating structured meals, you're eating regularly, you're avoiding all alcohol. There are some things that you're absolutely doing and some things you're absolutely not. Then on the 7th day, let's call it Saturday, go for your life. Eat what you want. Now, the reason why he was doing that is, people saying, it stopped the restrictions, so it took the handbrake off your metabolism and all that sort of stuff. No, honestly, the real reason is, and you disagree with me, Steve, if you've got other insights, because there might be some truth to that. But my understanding is it just gave you that mental freshness, something to look forward to, because it meant that you weren't doing months and months and months of self-sacrifice and denying yourself what you wanted, but that you only had to get into routine through your working week, and then you could go and have some chocolate, you go and have a pizza, go and have a beer or something, blah, 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 blah. And it worked, and people got really good results with it.
If you talk to me as the old graduate, it was like, no, you just eat healthy and you're done. But it doesn't work in the real world, because there's humans. There's humans involved. And we talk about food as being a crutch, and some people can't give it up. And there's this
food is wonderful, Steve.
It is. It's great.
And it's communal, and you get together with friends. What do? Oh, let's get together and just hang out. No, typically it's drinks, snacks, and food normally, and then you go out for a meal with. It's very, very social.
Oh, it's
We're
great.
social animals.
It is,
and I mean, and pizza and beautiful food and all these sorts of things. Naturally, they're comfort foods. They make you feel good, and when you get together with friends, you want to feel good.
You do. And the problem with that is that some people are addicted to certain foods.
Sure.
Now, I use the word addiction because it's quite a controversial one.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2014, there's a mental health book. It's the Bible of mental health, and it's got the Diagnostic Statistical Manual number. It's up to number 5 now. Now, in the number 4, there was food addiction in there. In 5, they took it out. So all of a sudden, food was allegedly non-addictive. And it's like everyone's going, what are you talking about? Yeah.
I'm not addicted to coffee at all. I just have one every morning.
But do you know what they call it now? They call it substance abuse.
Really?
Yes. Really interesting papers on it. Yeah, I've
Okay.
got a few here. So basically, can you become addicted to food? I think you can. Because there are certain foods that, people go, no, I'm addicted to it. And let's just take caffeine, for example.
Sure.
If you give up caffeine,
Yep.
you will have withdrawal side effects such as headaches and all this sort of stuff. And people say, you hear the term, I need my morning coffee or something. You've heard those sort of terms?
Sure.
That's that sort of addiction to these sorts of things. Now, the reason why they took it out and call it substance abuse is because they thought that you're already addicted to food because you're human.
Right.
And so it's a semantic argument.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't like that because I just think people should be addicted, should be able to be addicted to food. Now, there is a Yale scale.
Yeah, why isn't it like lean chicken breast and broccoli?
Yeah.
Chickly.
No one's addicted to steamed broccoli or spinach. I like broccoli, but if you look at the Yale food addiction scale, or what they call the Yale scale, have you heard of that? It's questions you ask people if they are actually addicted to food.
Okay.
So yeah.
Ask me, Steve.
I'll fire one up here.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Which food are we going to talk about?
Well, it's pretty much all the foods,
Okay,
but
all right,
it
go for
depends
it.
on any certain foods.
Done.
Okay, so you're a pretty good eater, I know that. But here's the first question. In the past 12 months,
Yep.
I find that when I start eating certain foods, I end up eating much more than planned. Is it never or more than multiple times a day? How would you rate that?
Oh, occasionally.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm occasionally.
Yep.
Because yesterday they had, I'll probably talk about this, protein bar samples downstairs.
Yeah.
I ate more than I probably should have.
Yeah.
Because they were, that flavour. Oh, you haven't had that for a while. And
Yeah. We were trolling the new marshmallow bars for a VIP group that came through.
And there weren't any marshmallow bars. Oh, there were marshmallow bars.
Yeah,
Birthday cake.
Tony and I scarfed off them. Oh, the birthday cake just disappeared.
Oh, no, they were gone.
It's funny, right?
It's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So here's another one. I find myself continuing to consume certain foods even though I am no longer hungry. So this is for people who might eat dinner, like a big meal for dinner, and go,
Yeah.
I feel like something sweet.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard people say that?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
That's certainly in that thing. you
Yeah.
know.
Yep. No, not
So
really.
like you might have some lunch and then you
Yeah.
might feel like something sweet, usually sweet after.
Yeah, definitely in the afternoon. That's where I normally have like a hot chocolate or something
Yeah.
like that. Just to sort of hit that sweet. I've definitely got sweet
Yeah.
receptors, definitely.
So these are the sort of, and then you get the more severe ones. I'll just pick a few because there's
Sure.
20 something.
Yep.
For example, people eat to the point where they feel physically ill, like they go, oh my God, I've overeaten, and you see them sit like that.
Last night is the first time I said to Tony, I don't want to move. I've eaten too much because I went down to
What did you eat?
pho. I went and got.
Oh, yeah.
They make this awesome egg noodle chicken curry, and mate, seriously, it's got so much garlic and turmeric in it. But I mean, the egg noodle may be a little bit naughty,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
holy cow, man! Seriously, I reckon the amount of turmeric and garlic I'm getting in there will probably kill just about anything.
There you go.
But
No-
yeah,
no
I ate too
vampires
much.
in your house,
I was just like bloated. Yeah.
So there is a scale here, and it's quite a famous one, the Yale Food Addiction Scale, or they call it the Yale Scale if you want to look that up. And it's a questionnaire to see how addicted you are to certain foods, and
Right.
everyone's either at the bottom end or the top end.
But the big one I reckon has got to be alcohol, especially
Yeah.
for our average punters that are out there listening, because look, it's a hard life out there.
Yeah.
We battle the slings and arrows
Yeah.
of bosses and bastards at work and stress and, come home. And I know this is a problem for some people more than others. And if you don't have this crutch, more power to you.
Yeah.
But alcohol's a big one, Steve. It's a bitch.
It's
Because,
a
and especially, unfortunately, if you're a white wine drinker
Yeah.
and or you're dare I say, an alcohol, like a spirits drinker, especially if those spirits contain sugar, you're really hard pressed. If it's a red wine, still, because again, as we said in our last podcast, not only do you have 7 calories per mil of alcohol, not only does it absolutely screw up your estrogen and your testosterone ratios, but also anything that you're consuming at the same time as well too is far more likely to end up as being converted to body fat. So it's a bitch. So I mean, so again, we talk about healthy alcohol consumption. Sort of 1 glass of red wine is probably your best bet. Other than that, save it for the weekend on what I'd consider to be, if you need it, that release, that binge is a really bad word, but that freedom day.
And the freedom day should be followed by no morning exercise the next day, because otherwise, if you have the multiple beers in the evening and you've got that 5 o'clock wake up call, you're going to go, I feel a bit seedy this morning. You may not be hungover per se, but you just don't feel right. And that'll stop you. That'll stop your whole program, and then you'll feel miserable because you missed out and all this.
What I used to do, and again, for people that are listening, I'm certainly not the ant's pants on this one, Steve, but what I used to do is I used to eat when I did Body for Life, and I've done other challenges, I've created my own as well too, is 6 days strict right through until the morning, and I would eat as well as I possibly could until I was having an event that night, friends were coming over, we're going out for drinks or something like that, and it would be like omelettes for breakfast or what have you, and then Saturday night or Saturday afternoon when they'd come over, it would be like, right, do not worry about it, just have fun. And then it would go through to that. Then in the morning again, it would be Sunday rest day. No exercise. Might take the dog for a walk or something like that. And then it was almost detox water, that sort of stuff as well too. And that was it.
You got to allow yourself that because it was not machines. And as I said, this is what I've learned over the years is you've got to be flexible with people. So you can't do this sort of thing. Now the problem is that what we know also about people who are overweight, and I'm just speaking on overweight people here, is there's certain receptors in your brain for the neurotransmitter dopamine. Okay, and there's 5 different types. Now, the second one, D2 receptors, are diminished in overweight people.
Wow.
Yeah. So they need more dopaminergic stimulation, and you can get that from sweets.
Okay, so as part of that then, what I'd be immediately reaching for is herbs and supplements that actually increase that action.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you can boost dopamine naturally, and there's plenty of things. For the classic herb is exercise is a really good one.
Watching funny movies.
Yep. Even herbs like Vitex. So there's loads of ways you can boost dopamine levels.
It's funny. When we started selling a supplement that had Vitex in it many years ago, do you remember what happened, Steve? Do you remember what happened? We had pronounced feedback. Oh my gosh, this product is it's
amazing feedback.
Headaches. Yeah. Really bad. Yeah. And we had to write back to people and saying, okay, reduce your serving size because the headaches were too intense.
Too much dopamine.
Yeah.
But that's all right. I mean, you just dose dependent. But these people have low dopamine levels or low dopamine receptors, so they're going to be more prone to addictive behaviours.
Bad foods.
Yeah, because they're going to need more dopamine stimulation.
Yeah.
So that could be cigarettes.
Yeah.
It could be, drinking.
Outside of food, Steve, what are the best ways to increase dopamine? Like, do you have a list? Like, would you say at the top? Yeah,
certainly dopamine. I'll say dopamine-rich foods.
Yep.
Like beans, because that contains very high levels of a chemical called levodopa or L-dopa.
Is that velvet bean extract?
Yep, velvet bean is the most potent one.
Yep.
But any beans have levodopa in it, which is an amino acid.
Okay.
But it's now turned into a drug for Parkinson's, so people might go, where have I heard of levodopa before? It's a natural sort of, but now it's been converted into a drug.
What else?
The second thing is protein-rich foods that's high in tyrosine.
Tyrosine,
yeah,
right.
So tyrosine-rich food. Have you ever eaten like a steak and then you feel like eating another steak straight afterwards?
Maybe if I went to a Brazilian grill.
Yeah. But you don't crave. It stops cravings.
Yeah.
Those heavy meat dishes.
Yeah.
Because they've got so many amino acids, they flood the brain with neurotransmitters, particularly dopamine.
Yeah.
And it just stops you craving those, like eating more and more food. Yet if you have rice...
Oh, yeah.
That's high that turns into sugar for quite readily. The amino acids will be taken up into the muscles because you get high insulin, it's anabolic. Amino acids come out of the blood, neurotransmitters drop, you feel like eating again.
That's right.
So those sort of stodgy, heavy meals are good
even if they're
dopamine.
really calorie rich and dense, you look
It
at them,
doesn't
but
matter.
it's satiety, right?
Yeah, and this is where the diet, like the Robert Atkins diet, was very effective, because he just said, eat as much as you want, but only these foods.
Yep.
And they're all the protein,
And
fat-rich foods.
and as I said, I was talking. My best results is when I did I didn't worry about counting calories.
No.
I just the only thing that I was actually mindful of is how much protein I was getting.
Yeah.
The rest of the time I just had sort of balance of fats and protein, reduced carbohydrates, never overate, got really lean doing that.
And you feel full longer.
And that's the big trick, I
It
think,
is.
for most people is if it's comfort eating is one, obviously dopamine, but also the other one is blood sugar levels dropping, looking for
Yep.
something sweet, and
The other trick, and what they do medically, and I'm not a fan of this, but this is what they do, is they prescribe amphetamines for weight loss.
Yep.
Like fen.
Duramine.
Yeah, Duramine is the classic one. And now you might think, that's a stimulant that'll burn fat. No, it doesn't work like that. It boosts dopamine in the brain, so you feel like eating less.
Yeah, right.
Like antipsychotic drugs.
What does some exercise? Does exercise help with dopamine production?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, incredibly. And winning at gambling, it does. I know you like playing cards, but yeah. So
Actually, it's true. I used to not eat a lot when I'd go to the casino.
Yeah, and if the problem with that, of course, is that you chase it. So some people chase it, and you become addicted to gambling.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about that.
A good guy I used to love called Gus Hansen, brilliant WPT on the World Poker Tour,
Yeah.
won about $20 million, lost it on online gambling over a period of years. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, $20 million, a lot of money to lose.
So he won a lot on gambling.
He
became-
won in real life tournaments and then started playing online.
Okay, so online is
Different.
That
'Cause
yeah.
you're picking up cues.
Yeah,
I played a bit and won a little bit of money online, but I was a better live player for sure because you
Yeah.
pick up on things.
And yet, I'd probably, because I'm a useless gambler, I'd
We should
probably
play sometime.
Oh, there goes a house or two.
Well, you've got enough.
Yeah.
You've got plenty to share around.
Put a house on the line. Look, it's a tricky one because I think the best way is to eat rich foods, and this is where diets fail, like high carbohydrate, trying to cut calorie diets. I'm not a fan of because they don't work in the real world. But on the work, in the gym world, where they say, you've got to count your macros, you've got to have X, because they're all people that'll follow their diet. Like my chiropractor who won she came fifth in Edinburgh in a competition just a couple of weeks ago. And she's really pedantic about her diet, and she's a superwoman.
Yeah.
She's
But her level of, how would you say, goal setting is she has a very clear picture of what she wants to achieve and when she wants to achieve it by. And again, we're going to get into this in the end in terms of where you are on the scale.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're not getting onto a stage, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
But that's why those people are so successful, is because they've got a time frame, and they've got incredible knowledge. And I guarantee she had a coach.
Yes.
And I guarantee that she was. You can only manage what you measure, and that's something else we'll get into on the back end in terms of housekeeping and or process.
Yeah.
But and I don't want people to go, this sounds really confusing and it's really difficult. And it all starts with one thing, and I'll share that right at the very, very end. The absolute critical clinch thing that you must do before anything else. But we'll get there. But this can all be done, and the beautiful thing is that I don't care if you're 40 kilos overweight, or if you're 5 kilos overweight, we can address that, and we can create right now off this. And as we get to the end, we'll leave you with a system and a structure where you feel a bit of a smorgasbord, because some things will resonate with some people things will resonate with another, and there is no 100% it's this way or nothing else. There are modalities, I guess. There are different ways to be able to achieve that, depending on obviously what you're trying to achieve, your time frame, what's important to you, the hours that you have, what type of exercise you like, your crutches with your food. There are ways that we can actually manage and overcome that. And this is where I think really good PTs recognize who they're working with and determine the level of high. You don't go first time into a gym with someone that's never trained before and get them doing, ridiculous, heavy squats for 6 sets right off the bat.
They'll
right?
never come back.
Well, you don't want them to. I mean, like for example, as opposed to someone that's trained, because otherwise they could get rhabdomyolysis,
rhabdomyolysis,
right, which could end them up in hospital.
Of course, it can.
But good trainers understand that. They work with the person and they progress with them over time. And this is the same thing with this. We're not all the same. You don't have to start at that level. Sorry, Steve, I'm rabbiting a bit. But anyway, go on.
No, it's true.
Yep.
So basically, there comes down to, with eating, it comes down to a few rules. I mean, we give up all the sugary foods, but I think the most important sort of things is to follow guidelines. Like, A, eat a lot of protein.
Sure.
Okay, don't count it. Don't weigh it. Don't overcomplicate it. This is
unless you're a measured person
Yeah.
who likes measuring their
Yeah.
who folds their sock drawer on the weekends. If you find, how would you say, if you find comfort in strictness,
Yeah.
you probably already would have achieved your results anyway, because you would have just had a diet stuck to it and an exercise plan and stuck to it.
Yeah,
but
this is not
but you're
for you.
right, for the average person out there. Yeah, you don't have to freak out over the detail.
Don't count calories.
Broad stroke.
You know, so with do and try and eat as one of our previous guests says, eat like the rainbow, eat colourful foods. You know, like all the colourful fruits, vegetables, and salads. Don't get caught up on, is this sugar? Is this high in sugar? Down the track, you can talk about mangoes being a bit high in sugar, but at the start of it, don't worry about it.
Well, if you're sucking down quarter pounders and eating, pretzels and crisps or chips and that sort of stuff, and you're worried about eating a mango, you're way off base, right?
Yep.
So,
And at the start, don't worry about salt. Don't worry about all that other weird stuff that people, what about this additive and all this sort of stuff? You know, what about the artificial colours? It's a start.
No, I agree with you,
about
Steve. I agree with you.
Just eat cleanish, get off the refined stuff. That's all.
Yep.
Just no flour or grains. Just try that.
Yep.
You know, just try that. And that's a guideline for eating healthy. And if you can do that, that'll also curb your addictions. And if you go, and this is the other thing, and it's sort of what you mentioned earlier, but if you are a craver for sweet things after dinner, have healthy sweets hanging around, like, hot chocolates or chocolate bars that are low in sugar.
High in protein, high in fiber, no artificial.
No, it's true.
But yeah, absolutely, and they're designed for that.
Exactly.
So there are what I'd call the replacement theory.
Yeah.
So one of the worst things I think that you can do is fixate on what you can't do, and actually start creating mindsets onto what you can do. Create little treats and rewards for yourself, especially, as I said, if you're not sergeant major, tear the gym apart 6 times a week on broccolini with chicken, chiccolini, I should say, just all the time.
Yeah.
Then, and again, there are the people that are listening to this podcast that are just that absolutely rigid.
Yeah.
Great. Good for you. Show others how to do that. But if you're not, you're the lay person, the average person out there. Create little treats and rewards for yourself that you really look forward to. When I was doing the Body for Life, when I first started, and I didn't know a lot about diet and nutrition, one of the things I absolutely looked forward to was yogurt with sunflower seeds and what else did I have in there? Cottage cheese. So what I used to do is I used to mix cottage cheese and yogurt with sunflower seeds and I'd use some almonds and stuff like that as well too. Stir that up and I'd eat that. And it was sweet because from the yogurt, but I was counting the protein I was getting from the cottage cheese, and it was kind of a treat. It was sweet, it was nice, and that's kind of, and I'd look forward to that, right? Because I wasn't, and I wouldn't say that's great now because I'm not a huge fan of dairy, but that was something that I was looking forward to. But you can do the same thing with a high quality protein shake. Right. Like we're coming out with a decadent range of our No Way at the moment, which tastes like it's freaking made on cream, but is absolutely beautiful. And you can use something like that that's high in protein and is actually good for you. And again, I always recommend things like I love apples. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. The fiber, the pectin. Yes, it's got some sugars in there, but with the fiber and the pectin, especially if you're having it with protein, it's good. And you can have something like that, which keeps you full. It's something you can look forward to that's nice and sweet.
Much better. So you can sort of cheat on the diet, if you know what I mean. You can still have your
cheat, but
chocolates
without really cheating.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the diet side of things. And the exercise side of things is just do what you can do. First thing, ideally, get up and do your thing in the morning. If you can't, think about going for a walk at lunchtime. Don't have to be hard. Or go do some intense exercise on the way home from...
Everybody's different, and again, I don't want to talk too much about the how, Steve. It was more about the why. But Tony's mum lost 40 kilos, I think.
Wow!
And how she did that was getting rid of refined foods.
Yeah.
So she got rid of, white breads and pastas and that sort of stuff. Focused a lot more on eating meats. She actually was using some of our shakes as well too. But for the most part, she was eating fresh. She was eating fresh food, lots of, salads and lots of meats with vinaigrettes and that sort of stuff. She just changed her eating and she walked. Now, Tony's mum's got really bad knees and she couldn't do any high-intensity exercises. She had an exercise bike, but she didn't enjoy it. She found it really boring.
Yeah.
So she just decided to walk.
Yeah.
And so what she would do is she would just go for a very slow, steady walk first thing in the morning, and she'd walk for about, and she's retired now, so she had a little bit more time, but she'd walk for about 45 minutes to an hour every morning. And she just, loved that, put her headphones on, was listening to whatever she was listening to, music or what have you. And she changed her eating. The combination of, our podcast. Yeah. The combination of the change in her eating, reducing alcohol, which was a big one, and that is a real big one. If you're looking to lose weight, seriously, the number one thing that I would recommend, or I should say the number two thing, we'll get to the number one thing.
Yeah.
The number two thing you should do, I honestly feel, is that you should absolutely restrict alcohol consumption. Yeah. And I would put it down to 0, except for that one I'd call freedom day.
Yeah.
And again, these things, with this Body for Life, what I found with people that did it, and I did the same thing, give people that handbrake, that release, release the handbrake, I should say, go out, have fun, go out with friends, go out, drink, go party, go whatever you want, is that the more that they got into it and the more results that they saw, do you know what happened, Steve?
What?
People craved and desired that less.
Yeah.
You start changing your gut bugs as well too, especially if you're exercising and you're eating better foods and you start to see results. People start going, all of a sudden, I've dropped 5 kilos. I want to get down to 6. Yeah. So all of a sudden, naturally, their habits become more selective to actually supporting their goal. Yeah, the hardest part is the first 3 weeks where nothing changes, nothing on the scale changes. No. Do you know the amount of people, Steve, when I'd get them eating more protein? Yeah. And do you know what would happen on the scale?
Put on weight.
Yes.
Well,
and they would freak out.
Yeah.
And they'd come back to me and they'd be go, what's going on? I said, can I tell you something? Now, and most of these people would be training and sort of doing a little bit of gym. I said, your body is actually put on a little bit of lean muscle tissue, and I'm talking over the first couple of weeks. Yeah. You're eating better. You're probably, getting better glycogen reserves, mind you. But having said that, I said, I guarantee you, if you keep this up, I said, it might come up a little bit. I said, the weight will drop off within the next, sort of 4 to 6 weeks you watch. And that's exactly what happened every single time.
Yeah. Incredible. And so come on, you got to tell us what's the number one thing?
All right. Yeah. So more than anything, and this is start with why, is count the cost. So in other words, and this is a really big one. See, most people fail, and I like the saying is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And the biggest thing is counting the cost. So what I mean by this is that realistically, if you're listening to this and you're going, okay, I've tried all these diets, it hasn't worked, right? The first thing that I was mentioning about make no exceptions for the first 3 weeks. Mentally steel yourself to actually do it. Write down a plan of what it is that you want to achieve and be realistic with that.
Yes.
Don't say, I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week. I'm going to do half an hour of weights and then I'm going to do 30 minutes of high intensity sprint cardio afterwards. Or, no, set realistic goals and then share that with somebody who cares about you. If you're in a relationship, great. If it's your mum or your dad, great. Keep somebody that you can check in with. Hey, what's your goal for this week? Okay, I want to, and I'm doing this with somebody right now. I've written them a very simple eating plan. It's not overly restrictive, but we've taken out some of the chocolate biscuits at night, and we've put in a no-way bar. Okay. Right? Because one of the things that they love doing is having a cup of tea and having a bit of sweet, a bit of ice cream or a biscuit at night. Change that out for something that's got about 5 grams of sugar, but it's got 20 grams of protein and 10 grams of fibre.
It tastes great.
It tastes great. It satisfies that sweet tooth, but at the same time, and again, doesn't have to be our product. It can be whatever you want. The thing I really, really like is actually our mousses and our jellies.
Oh, yeah. I had
Our
some
mousses,
yesterday too.
our mousses are the best, right? So you can make up a mousse, and that's got no sugar.
No.
And it's all natural.
It tastes great.
And you can actually have a dessert.
Yeah.
But these things take a little bit of planning. It's not just crap that's in the food high in sugar. So, but what this person is doing is that they are 3 times a week, they're going for a 30-minute brisk walk. They've got a hill, and I said, if you can do hill walks, do hill walks, right? So they're walking for 15 minutes, sort of, through a hilly area,
Sure.
and then they come back again.
Yeah.
On the other days, they're actually doing the high-intensity cardio, Steve, where they're doing the... And what they're doing is this, and again, please, before you do any exercise, talk to your personal trainer. But what they're doing is they're getting on the bike, and they're warming up for a couple of minutes, and then they're doing a 10-second sprint every minute. So in other words, they wait until it gets around to the 2-minute mark, and then for 10 seconds they're doing a flat-out sprint.
Yeah.
Now, if you're overweight, if you're unhealthy, if you have a history of heart disease, please go and talk to a personal trainer or your doctor first. It's really, really important that because you don't want to overtax yourself.
Nope.
You just want to up the intensity a little bit. And he's doing that 3 times a week.
Perfect.
And he's starting off with 5 10-second sprints.
Yep.
And he's working his way up to 10 10-second sprints. And then that's it. So doing that first thing in the morning fasted. We've changed in some supplementation to support his goals. The big one is satiety. So this is where protein, fats, using oils can really help as well too.
Oils
and I'm talking good oils. So you can use things like almonds and all that sort of stuff as well too. And restricting alcohol.
Yeah,
was drinking, probably most nights at home, come home having a beer, coming home having and that's obviously the way to go. Now, depending on where you are in the scale, some people have trained before and have just got out of the habit. Other people are new to this and they've never trained before. But the first thing is to start with why and start with counting the cost.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to achieve?
Yeah.
And be realistic. If you're in an absolute hurry because you've got a school reunion or you've got a wedding that you're going to, well, great. You'll probably put in a little bit more effort. If it's not, then just make these changes to your lifestyle, and what you'll find is the weight will start absolutely dropping off. But yeah, there's a whole combination, Steve, there. Focusing on you're not allowed that, you're naughty, that's bad. Do replacement. Focus on realistically when you can train. So sitting down, if you're a night owl, and this is what I hate to say, unfortunately, and the best results I ever got was training first thing in the morning, as you said, Steve. Yeah. Because the day's fresh. You might not like getting up early. Just go to bed half an hour early, get up half an hour earlier. Yeah. Honestly, I wish there was something else to say to our larks. To all you larks out there, this is so much easier for you. Yeah. You don't understand how hard it is for the night owls. But for the night owls, go to bed a little bit earlier, get up a little bit earlier. Don't make any exceptions for that. And you'll find it. Look, I'm a night owl, but when I was doing that, I found after a period of time it just became second nature and I was into it, right?
Well, I woke up this morning before my alarm. I woke up at 4:25.
Yeah, right.
And I was awake.
Yeah.
I got up.
It's easier during summer.
Oh, yeah.
Sucks during winter.
It was light this morning at 4:25.
But this is the best time to start this sort of stuff is over summer because it's a little bit easier. Once you get the momentum going, you start seeing the results, it sort of start falling together. So, Steve, I think we've covered everything.
Absolutely.
Firstly, sit down and count the cost. What is it you're trying to achieve and what do you want to do? Recognise that you don't have to be perfect. Use replacement foods where possible. Yeah. Take out the chocolate bar, put in a protein bar. Yeah. Take out the high sugary mousse, put in a high protein diet. Like, we've got them. You can come to our website and use them. I mean, shameless plug. But seriously, guys, that's what we've created them for. The jellies and the mousses, I think, are probably, the mousses particular, I think, are one of the best products. If you've got a real sweet tooth like me, the vanilla, the white chocolate is my favourite because it's quite sweet.
It is sweet.
If you like it not quite so sweet, then the chocolate actually has that real nice sort of chocolatey, almost, So you can try that, mix it up. Literally, you can shake it up and put it in the fridge and it's ready to eat in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Exactly.
So that's cool. try the replacement therapy. Up your protein, lower your sugars.
Yep.
You know, obviously most people understand about that sort of thing around, you know, protein, getting rid of, you know, your pastas and your breads and all that sort of stuff. It's a great place to start. And look, you can use keto if you want to. You can use Atkins if you want to. You can use, you know, count your calories if you want to.
Whatever
but if
works
you're not
for you.
into that, as Steve said, you know, just removing some of those bad foods and incorporating more of those.
Swap your bread out for a high protein bread. Swap your Coke out for a Zeus juice, if I can say Zeus juice.
Sure. I mean,
It's a
again,
nice
a lot
drink.
of people would use things like non-nutritive, like diet soft drinks and that. We're not a fan of them. And I think if you listen to our podcast on non-nutritive sweeteners, you'll actually find that in the end, you're actually craving and consuming more calories. It doesn't actually work, not to mention the health negative impact. But if you use things like stevia, thormatin, and other compounds that are natural, that can actually take that. Like, as you say, Zeus juice has got your amino acids in there and no synthetic or no artificial, sweeteners. So there's other ways and means. But honestly, just drinking water and getting into it. What I do is I actually use a soda stream at home and make carbonated water. And I love that. And I just drink that. So there are little tips and tricks that you can do.
Sure.
So
what do you think?
Have we covered everything, Steve?
I think we have. I think it's good. It's better.
Some exercise is better than another. Count the cost. Don't make any exception for the first 3 weeks. Don't try and set it too high. You know, work with it and progress as you go. And mate, the results will start coming in. And definitely have that day off. That day off, like on Saturday, go, I'm going to have that day off. Try and make it half a day. Then try and make it, maybe a few hours or a meal.
Or a cheat meal.
But if you are going to a wedding, if you are going out with friends, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. And then just get back straight on the wagon the next day.
Exactly right. Exactly. Don't go, I had a wedding, therefore I'm not going to eat well for the rest of the week. Or, people do that. They fall off the wagon and they stay off the wagon.
Yep. Well, what has been proven as well too, and I'm a bit of a all or nothing sort of person, and it's the worst mentality you can have, because what it's shown us is that if you make a mistake, make that mistake, and then if you have a chocolate and you didn't want to, fine, live with it, deal with it, and then just get straight back on the wagon. If you train twice that week instead of 5 times like you wanted to, fine, because that 2 is a hell of a lot better than 0.
Absolutely.
And this is where people set the bar too high, they fail, and then all of a sudden it all comes crashing down. And it's one of the worst mentalities you can have. Progress, not perfection, is the way to go.
I used to give my patients all sorts of things to do. They'd fail on one and then they'd just throw the whole thing out.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
All the time.
And this is about being unrealistic, I think, with your goals and your expectations.
I was.
If you sit down and you understand what it is that you want to achieve, and then you go, right, when am I going to do it? Hold yourself accountable to do it at that time, and have that plan and stick to it as best you can. Know that if you fail, that's not the end of it. Start again from that exact moment, and it'll come. It'll all come together.
Absolutely, 100%. Cool.
Is that it?
I think we've covered it off about those little handbrakes. I think it's an important aspect. We can give them the best diet, the best exercise, but if they don't do it, it's useless. Absolutely useless.
And everything works synergistically together. So fail to plan, you plan to fail. So make sure you got a plan. Make sure you hold yourself accountable. Eat well, throw in your exercise, and then supplementation can be of some real benefit as well too. But in that order. And we're a supplement company. But it's got to be food first, exercise second, supplementation third.
Correct.
So cool.
Excellent.
Steve, thank you.
It's good fun.
All right, we'll be back with some more next week. Thanks,
next
guys.
week.
Bye.